The first thing we need to understand before we think about time signatures is just the fact that every song is split up into sections. So for example, if you might have a song that's kind of split up like this, these are what we call measures. So this would be one measure. This would be another measure. Every song is split up like this into different parts. Now, at the very beginning of a piece, you'll have something like, for example, 4/4. Okay, so this is what we call a time signature. Now, the bottom number is important. The bottom number is what tells you that the quarter note counts as one beat. But for the sake of our class, most of what we're going to be worrying about is what this top number means. That top number is really, really important. The top number is what tells you how many beats are in each measure. So in this case, because there's a 4 up here, every measure can only have 4 beats. So 4 beats per measure. So what does that mean? It means that you can only fit basically 4 beats worth of notes in each measure. Okay. So for example, I could have one measure with a half note and 2 quarter notes. Now why does that work? Well, a half note is worth 2 beats. A quarter note's worth 1 beat, so that's worth 1 and that's worth 1. 2 plus 1 plus 1 is 4, right? 4 beats. I could fill it with a measure with maybe 2/8 notes, another 2/8 notes, 4 16th notes, and maybe another 2/8 notes. Now that may look like a lot, but why would that only be 4 beats? Well, an eighth note is only worth half a beat by itself, right? So if we put half a beat plus half a beat, that makes 1 beat, right? Same thing applies here. Half a beat plus half a beat, that would only be worth 1 beat. Now these kinds of notes are worth only a quarter beat each, okay? So a quarter beat plus a quarter beat plus a quarter beat, and this is getting into a lot of fractions, but quarter beat plus quarter beat plus quarter beat plus quarter beat, well, that would make 1 beat by itself as well, okay? And then again, these 2/8 notes are kind of the same as these. You put those together, that's 1 beat. Okay, now when I say this kind of gets a lot of students confused, understandably. Remember that the notes, we give beats to these notes because we're basically trying to say how fast they would be or how quick they would be. So remember, a beat is kind of like a second of time. There's 60 seconds in a minute, right? A beat is kind of like that, except some beats are faster, some beats are slower. So what we're saying here is that for every beat, you could stuff 2 of these notes in there. So let's say my beat is kind of like this. If I were playing the piano, I could go like this, dun dun, like that. If I were playing these 4, for every single beat, it would be dun 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 dun, like that. 1 2 3 4, like that. If I were to play this whole measure right here, let's say I had drums or something, here's my beat again. This is how fast the song is. I'd go dun 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 dun. In class, we talked about this in terms of just to kind of help us say it or help us think through it. We did apple, apple, anyway, apple, apple, huckleberry, apple, dun 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 dun, like that. Note, 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 that kind of thing. Over here, these notes are worth longer. They're not as fast, right? This is worth 1 beat, not half a beat or a quarter of a beat, so it's a little longer. This is 2 whole beats, right? So if this is my beat, 1 2, like bum, 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 like that, right? Again, if this is my beat, 1 2, bum, bum. Okay. If I put all of this together, it would be, again, here's my beat. Dun, 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 like that. But no matter what, it always has to only add up to 4 beats worth of notes. All right, here's as another example over here. I could put a quarter note, for example, 2/8 notes, and maybe a half note. That could work as well. This is 1 beat by itself. Remember, each of these notes is only worth half a beat. So if I put them together, in 1 beat, you could play those two. And then this would be worth 2 beats, right? 1 plus 1 plus 2, that's 4. And the same thing with this one, 1, 1, 1, 1, that's 4, all right? So there can only be 4 beats in every measure if the number up here is a 4, okay? If I change that number, if I make it 3 over 4 or 2 over 4, that changes how many beats per measure it is. Okay, so with this one, at 4 beats per measure, or I could change it. So let's look at an example of maybe a different one. So let's say I've got 2 over 4, okay? Here are my measures again, like that. So 2 over 4. Now, in something like this, I could maybe fit this one, and that's it. Because this note right here is worth 2 beats. I can only fit 2 beats in every measure, because that's what this means, right? 2 beats per measure. So that's probably all I could fit in there, okay? I could do this and this. That's all I could fit, because we're only doing 2 beats per measure, right? 1, 2, they're both with 1 beat. Or I could do, let's say, 4/16 notes, like that. And then maybe tack on another 2 eighth notes, like that, right? Remember that these are worth a quarter beat each, right? So you put 4 of them together, you can fit 4 of these notes. They're so fast, you can fit 4 of these notes into 1 beat, okay? These are pretty fast too, only half a beat long. So I could stuff 2 of these notes into 1 beat, okay? So let me go through this one. If my beat's going 1, 2, 1, 2, like this, go like this. Dun, 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 like that. Okay, like if I was playing piano or something. Let me do that again. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. So 2 beats per measure, I can only fit 2 beats worth of notes in there. It can never be, it can't even be 2.5 beats. You know, it can't even be that. It can't be anything less than 2 beats. It has to be exactly 2 beats if I'm doing 2 beats per measure. So that's how time signatures work. Now on the grand staff, if I'm looking at kind of like the big picture here, like that. This is what we call the grand staff, and I'll talk about this more in another video. But if you're looking at a real piece of maybe piano music, you might see something like this. Treble clef up here, bass clef up here. Well, where would that 4 over 4 go? Where would it go? What would you write it like this? Where would you write the time signature? If it were 4 beats per measure, for example, we put 4 over 4 up here, and we would put 4 over 4 down here, okay? They always mirror each other, kind of treble clef and bass clef. It also goes right after the clef like that, so 4 over 4. If it were 2 beats per measure, we would write it like, it would be written like this at the beginning of a piece. You have a 2 over here and 2 down here, so 2 over 4, 2 over 4. And that would tell us that in every single measure, you could only fit 2 beats worth of notes, okay? So that's a brief overview of time signatures, and I hope that's helpful.